Sporlan Smart Pro R service tools are specifically developed to meet the needs of refrigeration technicians. All the benefits of our original kit, plus the Smart Pro R tools allow temperature readings down to minus 40 degrees, fit any diameter pipe, allow multi-coil superheat readings, and 10 times the signal strength. Find out more at sporlanonline.com.
Well guys, we got no action out here, so I'm going to check see if we got voltage. I hear a little humming coming from the unit, but that's about it. So we'll take a look, see what we got inside the control panel. The contactor's pretty loud. I'm going to take that door off the contactor and see how she's doing in there. Sounds like it might need a new contactor, and we have a slight dome on this capacitor. Looks like it's a 30/5, so I'm going to check it too. See how we're doing there. See on the amp probe ACD14, we are a dead duck. So let me put that back on there. Here we are. We got nothing. Let me swap that capacitor out. Let's take a look at this contactor too. New capacitor, we're good to go. The contactor actually didn't look that bad. It's kind of chattering though. So we're going to let this thing run for a minute, see how she looks. And that might be all she wrote. So we are looking at right around 75 outside, 74, 75, and a 64 degree wet bulb inside. So I'm going to go to my calculator. 64 wet bulb times 3 equals 192 minus 80 is a constant, minus our 75. 37 divided by 2 equals 18.5. So 18.5 is our target superheat. We'll see where we're at here in a few minutes and see if it stacks up to 18.5. Guys, I have returned to my little job where I changed the high-O here and set new Mortex coils on the furnaces. But it seems like this unit's running and it looks like it's doing fine. I haven't checked it real well yet because I have a feeling I know what the actual problem is. It's the fact that the furnace where this unit is located, the blower's not coming on. So I'm gonna go see if I can't figure out why that is. Or our blower is not hot. I'm gonna get out the meter and check the capacitor. We'll see what it looks like, see if it has a charge in it, and then we'll go from there and make sure we're getting voltage and all that good stuff. Alright, this is the old south wire. Let's see, we have the 23070T. Turn on capacitance here. See how we do with one hand. Looks like I'll be able to do it. 10 microfarads. So that's plenty to get this thing going. So maybe it's the blower relay itself. So we're down here checking. I got my, sometimes you gotta use these little covers so you can get in there real tight. Sometimes it's easier to use the bare probe. But I'm in there looking at the blower relay, which is there in the back. You can't hardly see it. You see that yellow wire with the red? I'm talking about right back in here. And that blower relay is letting through about 52 volts. So hopefully this motor is not all messed up from getting the lower voltage. I'm going to kind of straight wire it through there and see if it works, and we'll go from there. Guys, you can see that relay down there with the green and gray there in the back. Well, evidently, it was malfunctioning. It was getting power on 2 different speeds, which will really tear up a motor, which probably is what happened. I'm going to check one more time voltage at the plug up here, just to make sure that that's not the issue. Otherwise, it's going to require a new motor and relay. Guys, we look down in there. You can sort of see, if we focus in, the motor is a little bit extra crispy. So this motor is likely dead as a doornail. We're going to I took the plug out. We're going to just see if we got voltage coming to it or not. But in the end, it was the relay that kind of destroyed everything because it let power through when it wasn't supposed to, end up gumming up the works. Just as a final confirmation, I'm taking voltage on the plug. We should have 240 volts. We do. Capacitor's good. Motor, not so good. But to quote him, a new motor on this one. We'll see what size we are. Probably have to end up using that 1/2 horsepower motor. You can see some of the motors used here. It says a 4-speed, 4-ton, 2.9 amps. So that's pretty much what we're at to go with. The 1/2 horsepower, 2.9 amp motor. So we can cover our amps. And we'll see if they want to do that. It's above the threshold for the real estate company. So I'll have to give them a quote. Look at this really carefully. 124 volts and 3 amps. See that right there? Pulling 35 amps, trying to break that compressor free. And what this is, see, it's a single pole breaker. It's a dehumidifier. Let's try it one more time. They said they hear the fan inside going whir, whir. Slowing down. Let's see what happens. 124 volts. Let's see if the voltage drops a little bit too. It should. Very interesting. Come on, you salty dog. 123, and it goes down to 121. So the voltage does drop for a second, lasts for a couple seconds, and comes back out. So we're having an issue with the compressor, and I can't even get that thing apart down there. It's so tight. So I'm about to ask her if she wants me to drag it out or what. Temperature split here, and you see we have 56.6 relative humidity. That's what I have it set on this side, relative humidity. So I'm going to switch it up to temp. We're on the return here. We have a temp of 68.8. Let it run for a few minutes across your probe to make sure you got the right temperature and relative humidity. So going from our rule of thumb that I created, that would mean our desired temperature split somewhere in the 17-degree range. And remember, it's a rule of thumb and isn't perfect or set in stone. You can figure things out calculation-wise if you want to be exact, or you can use some of the other products to figure them out. But this will get you pretty darn close. So, temperature 68.7. Let's go take a look at the supply air. See, we're falling down to around 52.8. See how low we go. That puts us right around 15 degrees, maybe a little bit more. So it's on the lower end, but still in the parameter that we're looking for. If it's plus or minus 3 from target. So we'll let it sit there for a second, let it come down. Just put the probe in there, so we might come down a degree or so still. 2.5, putting us right in the ballpark where we should be. Let's take a look at the relative humidity, because they've been talking about this a lot. Relative humidity on supply air is much higher. The principle behind it, a lot of you guys might have seen Brian Orr's, I think he did a podcast or an article on it. We discussed it with Larry Cole as well, that the relative humidity in supply air is much higher because even though you have less moisture in the air air spaces are smaller. It can't hold as much air. The air has a smaller volume. So even though you have less, I think, grains of moisture is how we're going to term it, there's less space for the moisture, so the relative humidity is actually higher. So it's a little bit of a brainful to think about, but it is higher on the other side. Once it expands back into the room, the relative humidity drops to lower than the return air humidity that it originally was, because now the water has been wrung out of it, and even though the colder air had a higher relative humidity, once the air expands back out into the room, that'll drop back down again. So we're on target here. Just a quick lesson, like how I use people's shorts to get my measurements. That's just how I roll, guys. Unit here, as we can see, it's an older style ream unit. This one's from the year 2000. You see, I wrote down the cap 46.32 on 11/16 because it was slightly weak, and now it is gone altogether. So it's been about 6 months, and the cap is needing to be replaced. You see, this unit has a hard start, and the cap is registering 0 microfarads, but the hard start was able to start the compressor, which means she's going to run hot until this trips here. This is a manual reset high pressure switch, but the compressor is going to run hot inefficiently because that run capacitor is not going to be in the circuit. So it must have been a rough ride for this compressor over the last few days, and it's scalding hot right now. It's not off on thermal because it was running until I shut the breaker off. Hopefully it doesn't go off on thermal while I'm working. Sometimes it lags a little bit between the inside thermal switch and what you feel on the outside. But I'm going to go ahead and switch this out, and hopefully it'll start back up and we get some cool gas running through it. Just be careful. Sometimes those hard starts will kick them off. There's been a lot of conversation about that lately, and it's definitely true because this one was doing it today.